Hello, everyone. This is Nicholas Peter Ugero, and this evening I have the pleasure and honor of having back on Daniel Shane Maddox on my channel. Thank you so much for coming on, man. How you doing today?
Excellent and beyond. How about you?
Ooh, I'm doing very well, thanks. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. So, for people that maybe didn't see our first interview or are unaware of who you are, if you just want to give a brief introduction of yourself.
Sure. So what I like to say about myself is that um, I'm a podcaster and a writer, public speaker, independent researcher, teacher of universal mechanics, which is also known as natural law. The laws, natural laws in nature that are inherent to creation, they don't change. They are what they are. And if we live according to them, our lives are much better. So I teach that, and through my videos, through my outreach to the people, and I'm an aggregator of information. I take sources from all different walks, all different places that you can find things, and I'm really good at sussing out what the truth of things is. So um, I'll take all the information available, which is called your grammar in the trivium, which is a very important method of learning that used to be taught in schools long, long ago when education was still about actually making people strong and capable instead of weak, dumbed down, and servile. Um, and when you take all this knowledge and information, the grammar, and you sort through it and you figure out what's real, what's what. And that's what I've been doing for 20 years now. Um, Only in the last decade have I been really serious about reaching out to people on a mass level through social media, through YouTube, through several other platforms. And so yeah, that's pretty much a little introduction about me.
Awesome. I just had another question. I forgot. I can't believe it slipped my mind. But yeah, so thank you for that introduction. And so I know we haven't talked in a few months. So if you want to just give me some sort of update on what's been going on with your life, how's things been going with you, and just in terms of content creation as well, because I know that you're still doing the short videos.
Absolutely. So after we spoke, which was 6 months ago now, kind of hard to believe, but that's how it is. Time flies, and we don't have much time left, and that's gonna make some people squirm in their seats, but so be it. The time is short, and our work is cut out for us. Um, at least it is for those who know what they are to do in life. And for me, that's been becoming more and more clear. Like I figured out, I always knew that I wanted to be a writer, but I didn't really step into it, really commit to it until the pandemic of 2020. And that's when I decided I'm just going to throw all my chips into writing and content creation and do this. And I didn't have a job. I was actually fired from my job for having an overpowering masculine presence. That's what they said in the court because I took him to court, and they said this, my old job, and the judge couldn't believe it, and But anyways, that's my life. That's the story of my life. Like I am an overpowering presence to these weaklings, to these fools who are so lemming like, so just debased from the pure human that they once were, not even in their lifetime, but humanity has been degraded. And I've been in the last 6 months since we first, met and started talking, I've really been stepping into the fact that this is who I am, this is my life, and just no, there's no more doubt. There was doubt, a lot of doubt in the beginning, but once I just committed to it, that kind of fell away. But then came a moment in the last 6 months where I had finished my book, and then I handed it off to my editor, and my editor has been painfully slow. Um, from what I expected, what I wanted from them. So this has been a process of learning that once you create something and then you have other people who help you with that creation, you have to kind of just let it go in some ways. And like I had originally intended to publish my book, I think it was in January of 2021. So, it's been a year and a half since I had originally intended to release this book. And that was all just overconfidence on my part of what it would take to get this book out. And it's my first time really doing this. I've written books before, but I never published them, and I never had gone this far, this much work, this much effort. So this has been a learning curve, and now my editor is sick. So not only is their slow pace stopped, it's just and not only is there slow pace, not happened anymore, it's just now it's just stopped. And so I've gone back to my work and done even more and put more of my effort and my time into it. Um, Essentially doing the job that I paid them to do. But that happens, and it's not a make wrong against them. I'm happy that they're there and they've really added a lot of value to what I've done. Editors and people in general who work, professionals who work on something, they're just so much more knowledgeable and so much more keyed in to what it is expected of that item, is expected of that creation that you've made. And so they taught me a lot. And I'm just trying to tamper down my frustrations with the slow pace of it and just say, okay, I can create other things. I can do other things while this master work that I'm trying to accomplish is, refining itself free of my hands in some regards. But, it's always within your wheelhouse. What you've created is always within your wheelhouse. It may not be in your hands right in front of you at that moment, but you have it to do with as you please. And so been working on that. Also been getting really into working out, as we talked about before the show began, which has been a huge boost to my life in general. Um, and the physicality of it, because I'm so in my mind. When you study the occult, when you study the ancient history, when you study things that most people don't even think's real or thinks a total waste of time, um, it can take a huge amount of energy, both time and physically, to focus on that and to take all that grammar, take all that knowledge, and then do something with it, figure out something about it. And so I kind of just, abandoned my body or neglected it. And, I sit in this seat quite a lot, and this isn't really working out. But now every morning I wake up at 5 a.m. and then I go to the gym 5:30, right? And then I'm there for 3 hours. And then, this is not like lifting weights. That's not my thing. I play basketball, I stretch, might do a little light workout, then I swim, and then I sauna. And for me, I just go just for the sauna because detoxification is so immensely important. Like, the first thing really that people should know when they're wondering, what should I do to better myself or to break free of my addictions, break free of these old habits, is detoxify. You're filled with toxins. It's a fact. I don't care how healthy you think you are. We live in a toxic sewage dump. The earth is becoming a toxic sewer. And this is because the corporations have free reign to do whatever they please, and they have successfully convinced the masses that not only is climate change your fault, but it's very real and present, and you need to support these mega corporations, which are the true cause of the pollution in the world, more than ever. And you need to attack your neighbors. You need to attack everyone around you, including yourself. You need to hate yourself for your participation in the murder of the planet. And we all play a part, but these corporations have such a stranglehold over people's awareness of what's going on that they've actually convinced them that they're at fault for the damages that these corporations are doing. And they've convinced people that only a certain group of people are fascists, like, let's say, Trump, uh, or any one group of people, or like the three percenters or Republicans in general. Like, these are all fascist leaning people, and they don't realize that they're the true fascists because they vehemently defend the corporate ideology, the corporate linguistics, the corporate mode of being, which is that everything has a price, and that human beings are only cogs in the machine to be splintered, fractured, broken down, and liquefied, and then fed intravenously back into the other slaves once they're no longer useful. This is what the whole Cloud Atlas movie was all about, and then hit on the head so well which is why it's one of my favorite movies. Um, and so, yeah, I take all that and then I say, I really need to detoxify all the time and perpetually get better at feeding my body nutrients, high density nutrients, and then not fill it with a bunch of, stuff that doesn't fill your tank. If you eat a loaf of bread, even if it's organic, that is just a brick in your stomach, and you will not be hungry, but it is not truly feeding you, and it is actually slowly poisoning you, leaching vitamins and minerals away from you, depending on how you eat it. If you eat it slowly and really get a lot of good chewing in, there's different things that I've incorporated into my life more and more, especially since we last talked, where I say, did I chew 30 times? Did I actually really chew that food? Or did I just literally inhale it? Did I literally just and then on to the next thing. Food is just like I fill my tank at the gas station. This is not something that for enjoyment. This is not something for a betterment of my life. This is not something that, actually incorporates itself into my being. What you eat is what you are. You become what you eat, you become what you think. And these foods that people eat are so acidic, so not alkaline, not in balance, that the only thing people can think is where to get the next high, whether it's a downer or an upper. They drink 5 cups of coffee because they smoke so much cannabis that unless they drink that coffee, they're not going to be able to function. And coffee and cannabis are two great examples. They're wonderful things, but they're so overdone and mixed and matched, and people don't realize the potential of either of those things done in balance. And so the last 6 months, to answer your question in short, the last 6 months since we've talked is to find a greater balance for myself physically, and which has helped emotionally and has helped mentally, because the physical essence is so key. As my friend says all the time, they have breadhead. Like they eat bread all the time. And this is not to focus negatively too much on bread, but what that means basically is people are pouring concrete in their tank and it's keeping them going, but slowly and surely it's preventing any true fuel to enter their body, and they're becoming more aggressive, more depressed, less energy, more confused, more easily led and convinced of things. When you're clean and you're clear in your body, the world changes around you. What once before was a scary situation, now it's just, "Oh, now I'm gonna do it." And I don't feel stressed out about it because my body isn't literally on fire through inflammation and through, drinking copious amounts of alcohol or caffeine or white sugar or white salt or white flour, which are the true white devils of this world. And, uh, I say that and, like, some people will laugh like you're laughing right now, and it is kind of funny, but the truth of it is these are the white devils. These are the things that are creating demonic personalities, demonic energy, because it's service to self only at the cost of everyone else, and just redlining, burning the candles at both ends, and then a blowtorch in the center. And it's just voila.
Yeah, like when you're talking about the White Devil thing, it's funny because I was literally just sending a bunch of those gifs from that Ace Ventura movie to my siblings today, and
Yeah.
so like of course like I'm thinking about the scene where they're calling him White Devil. So I can't wait to edit this interview because I'm gonna totally have that gif up here when you're saying that while I'm cracking up. So that's gonna be great. But thank you for that update because that's all great news. So I'm very glad that you're doing like the detoxing. That's super important. That's one thing like when we get to like prepping, that's mentally, physically, spiritually. I mean, talk about a way of prepping mentally, physically, spiritually is just by clearing yourself out. And then you made a great point of did I chew my food 30 times? Excellent point. That's I know because like I can find myself in that situation where I'm maybe watching something and then I'm just I'm not fully thinking about it. Like I chew it a couple times, and it's just like, and then it's just down the gullet, and you're not chewing it to really let it digest. And you're not just enjoying the food, and And like, yeah, like you're saying, it's just kind of just you're filling up your gas tank, just like boop, okay, I'm done. That's it. So that's a really good point because that's something that people need to should or not need to, but should strive to do that and be
Yeah.
more aware of that and observant of that because that's very important in order to like
It's essentially taking crude oil and putting it in a high performance sports car. And, you know, it will run to some degree and it'll get people by. But if you put high octane, 99% octane, fuel or 106, whatever it is for high performance vehicles, that thing is going to jam. And that's your body. That's your life. You chew 30 times, you eat organic, clean food that you've blessed, that you've really felt a connection with. You take that cucumber, you take that carrot, you take whatever it is, even a piece of bread, even that coffee, even that whatever it is, and you were really present with it, really just there, and you slip it slowly or whatever. It is so much you defeat the negative part of it because you're in such a state of enjoyment and present awareness that you're not just slamming it. Because when you're slamming it, you'll go on to the next thing and slam that. And then both of those things will be inside you at the same time, vying for time and energy to be able to be digested and then be used as fuel. And most people don't realize that every food that you eat, as you're eating it, your salivary glands create saliva, which is not just something to wet your lips and to make it go down. It actually creates enzymes or releases enzymes specific to what you're eating. So when you're chewing and you're really getting that good salivation and stuff, that's the pre-digestion. And then by the time it gets to your stomach, it's already like, we know exactly what this is. We know what to do with it, so long as it's organic and so long as it's not, a food-like substance, which is what most foods have become. They're food-like substances, and it's a damn shame.
yeah. And also when you're talking about yeah, just detoxing in general, so that's excellent, and then feeling more capable to handle situations, absolutely. So, if I have brain fog and I'm tired and I'm groggy, I don't have energy, I don't like my brain's not functioning properly, I'm not gonna be able to handle a certain situation. I'm gonna feel super overwhelmed because my brain's not it's not gonna be able to process things in the manner it would be able to if I was detoxed and healthier and just more active and I had good sleep. I wasn't on my phone before going to bed and whatever else. I didn't drink like slam a bunch of water before went to bed. And so, yeah, it's super important because I can, and also like in terms of just making improvements in your life in general, just mentally or doing whatever, just not being in a depressed state. That alone can help you out. Feel more capable. Your confidence is going up, like you said, going to the gym and just doing all these other activities that you normally or have been kind of slacking on. So like that's what I've been doing. I've been doing biking or going to the gym, and I've found way more of a balance with cannabis because I'm getting that natural dopamine. I'm getting that natural like I guess positivity, energy. I'm releasing all this sweat and all these things, and then I just don't have the desire to do it as often.
No.
And I've been able to find that balance finally, and it's been great. And then so like with detoxing, that's something that's very very important to me. I've been taking this substance I've talked about a few times. I interviewed this gentleman who I purchased it from. It's called Shilajit. It's a
I
black
know it.
resin. Yeah, so it's a black resin. It has multiple 80 plus minerals in it. Fulvic acid, which has numerous benefits in and of itself, and then humic acid, which has numerous benefits in and of itself. And then it helps with detoxing, helps like releasing heavy metals out of the brain, which is super important for me, I feel. And then just getting your body and organs a lot of nutrients and vitamins, and then that alongside of ozone generator. I have an ozone generator that I purchased online. This guy just made it. Took a few months, then he gave it to me. But you can take fresh water. It's like an air stone and air compressor, and then you just put that in the water, let it run for 10 seconds, then you can take a shot of it or whatever. Oxidizes your body, helps it become more alkaline. It detoxes you too. Helps your brain, helps your immune system, helps also remove heavy metals from the brain, which is extremely valuable. And then
Yeah,
also
you look
magnesium.
better than last
Really?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I was not in a good state. I was just really depressed and yeah, just doing
That's
I
part
was
of it, brother.
vaping and smoking weed and playing games, and yeah, it was bad, but I do appreciate that. I appreciate you noticing very much. And so to go back to what you were when you were first talking, I figured out what my question was. When you were talking about natural law and like what you're about and what you talk about. So how has following natural law personally affected your life? Like over like the course of maybe like you knew this information, you were kind of applying it, and then now like openly speaking up about it and doing that for as long as you have been. Have you noticed opportunities come your way and whatnot?
Yes. Yes, I have. Um, the biggest thing has been just the total knowledge that this is real, that that which I do to others will be done to me. Maybe not in this life, but since we are a hive organism, all of us are. Human beings have like 50 trillion organisms or something, something totally ridiculous that makes up who and what we are, you know? And we're also a group of energetic beings on this planet. No matter which way you slice it, we are in an energetic field together. And so that energy that you put out has to go somewhere, right? And it's tethered to you. If you imagine like a paint can and then a paint stick, and you put it in there and then you put it on the ground and then you push it away from you, the line still goes back to the original paint can, right? But then that paint will mix with everything else and then that'll mix and match, right? And the energy is tethered quantumly, right? Whatever has touched at one time is now quantumly linked together, and all things are tethered together. Every piece of matter that we've ever been able to find is tethered together quantumly. So this is what it means, the golden rule. You know, it's been rewritten to say, "Do unto others as you would have do unto you," or "Do unto others as you would like them to do unto you." But that is a limited hangout. It's not the real. It's not the true. What the true is, that which you are doing to others will happen. It's a fact. It's a mathematical equation because that paint can, when you send it out, that action, the reaction will come and return to you. It's like in some ways it's a paradox because people can't wrap their head around cause and effect for some reason. They can't somehow put together that, oh, I did this one thing and then that one terrible thing happened to me soon after. They don't understand energetic relationships. And most people don't even think of the world in terms of energy. Even though they believe in science, they say, they believe in the math, they say. You tell them, oh, everything is energy. Yeah. But then as soon as you explain what that actually results in, the connections and the reality that that informs. Oh no, that's whooshy. Oh, that's fairy tale stuff. And go smoke your crack pipe somewhere else, Hunter. It's like what? What are you actually saying? You just agreed that the universe is energy. You just agreed that we're all interconnected. How come you can't see that this one thing that you've done will have a consequence for you personally? And to me, it's just an ever present pulse of the human consciousness that people are so relativistic that they think everything is relative. They think that truth is relative, reality is relative. It all depends on what people feel and see. And it's the trap that they can never escape from so long as they hold that to be true, because it allows them to be led like like an animal on a leash just so easily because everything is relative. And whoever the authority is, which to them is the actual God in their life, most people don't know that they're in a cult of authority. They're in a cult of, I control you and you will do what I say. It's a master slave relationship. And this is the hardest part of our job. This is the one great work. The one great work is to free humanity from its condition. The human condition is slavery. People will say, "Oh, the human condition is fucked up," or "The human condition is this, that, and the other thing," but they won't. Most people will not accept, even though many things in their life have shown this to be true, that we are slaves. That there may not be chains, there may not be manacles on my wrists, but there's manacles on my mind, or there were at one time, because I did believe in the legitimacy of government to a limited degree. I was more of a minarchist for most of my life, as I explained in our last interview, because my dad was so anti-authority. I had no respect for them. I had no connection to them. And they were just an annoyance that are always there. They're people that are bullying you around and telling you you can't frolic, you can't do these things, you can't, you can't. Why not? Because we own you. And this goes hand in hand with the pandemic. And you're not allowed to breathe fresh air, you're not allowed to show your face, you're not allowed to be within 6 feet of people, you're not allowed to go to your job unless it's necessary, which means you need to work at a liquor store or a pharmaceutical company or a tech giant, because these are all necessary businesses, which have reaped the middle class, just completely eviscerated it, and then it all went upwards. And these are the people that want to go to Mars and literally nuke the planet from orbit and say, you know, peace, I'm out. Thanks, planet, for for the fun time that we had using you as our our free ride. And it's amazing to me that people like Elon Musk, say what you want about him or whatever, that all these people are investing so much money in leaving the planet, but almost none or a fraction of that in helping save the planet and helping undo the damage that them and their buddies and everybody in the corporate world, which, by the way, um, corporation means the dead speak. Corpus, corpse, oration, when the dead speak. And corporations in 2011, thanks to Obama, became living beings with the rights of a living person, right? Or of a human being. And so now they're immortal, non, NPCs. They're immortal NPCs pretending, masquerading as human beings. And they're going to send all their corporate officers after you with their legions of CSA agents and IRS agents and everything else, because the people that are least suited to lead humanity, are in charge of everything, because these people have taken control of the levers of power. And you know, America is the greatest country that has ever existed. It's the freest country that has ever existed, but it is still fucked up. It is still so fucked up. And um, if people want to change their lives, they're going to have to realize that everything that they're doing is supporting their own death, is supporting their own demise, is supporting the demise of the environment, of the family unit, of true care, of honor, of strength, of any kind of masculinity that isn't in the form of a transgender, non-binary, 57th, level fairy dust captain. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it ain't real. There are transgender people, but the issue is being pushed so hard that all other considerations are meaningless. It's just the same as COVID, you know, uh, pneumonia, Bell's palsy, cancer, all abortions, all, heart attacks, all these things have skyrocketed multiple 100%, but everything is COVID. So long as we stop one COVID case, not a death, a case, then all those other deaths are justified. And this is the same level of thinking. It's the same level of reckless abandon, fixing one issue, which is the golden calf of Babylon, that this is the thing that we worship and everything else to be damned. And for me, the most important thing to do right now is detox. Really sit alone, because we're talking about shadow work. That's what we're going to talk about soon, right? And you want to get into that now, or um
Yeah, we can do that, and we can talk about yeah, we can do shadow work, and we can talk about prepping, and then we can talk about your book and content creation if you want to do that. So we can
yeah,
just
yeah.
change the
I mean, did that answer the general gist of
yeah,
what you
like
were
your
saying?
I guess because I definitely loved your response, but it's I mean just like maybe like a personal anecdote, like for me, just I was shopping at Walmart a couple months ago, and I was like, you know what, F Walmart, I'm gonna steal some shit. So I got like I got my card, I filled it up a good amount, and then they have like the self checkout with the like little scanner. thing. So I'm like, okay, I'll scan. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, I missed that one. Oh, I missed that one. And then I'm thinking to myself, you know what? They're a huge corporation. They're such scumbags. They're just getting a lot of this stuff from slave labor anyway. Big whoop. Yeah, just a couple weeks later, I get pulled over and get a ticket for speeding. And I was going an incredibly fast amount. But the guy, he dropped it down to where it was a normal level and he gave me like an $80 fine. That's it. And it basically balanced out to what I stole. If I was thinking about it, my intuition was telling me, you know what? It's like, look at the price amount and then just think about what you just took a few weeks ago, a month ago. It's just, yeah, it could just be a coincidence or whatever else, or maybe it is from something else that I did, but I haven't done anything bad since or before. I mean, leading up to that. So
Yeah.
it just, for me, it just makes a lot of sense. So like for me, like that's a personal anecdote of doing the wrong thing and then bad things happening. Things that you don't
Yeah.
want to happen end up happening in that sense. But in terms
And
of like doing uh following the principles and not causing harm to people, I've seen opportunities open up for me, like leaving my job, but then I'm still able to make ends meet for the time and able to find things on the side where I'm not just completely destroyed financially or whatever. So like I've had it to where good things come to my life. When I left my girlfriend, I started working on myself, started working out all these things, and then I reached back out to her, and we're talking again, but it's just in a much different way because I'm in a different place, and I'm not trying to hurt her. I don't have ill intent, and same goes with her. So it's just things are going to work out in a much better way because we have like that kind of mindset. So I guess in just your personal life, like going from knowing these things, already being like a minarchist from your father and growing up that way and just having that perspective, and then becoming a content creator and putting a lot of your will and time and dedication into doing something and like having a goal in mind, like a book, something as big and convoluted of a process as making a book, like doing all that stuff. Like, have you seen things happen in your life just like through intuition
yeah,
where
I
you can
guess
kind of
I
link
kind
those
of went
things
a
together?
roundabout tangent right there with corporations, but yeah, what has following natural law changed my life? And yes, it has. Actually, to a degree that I didn't think was possible. Like,
Wow.
uh, a friend of mine who's also an anarchist, um, they were in dire straits. Like, they didn't have a job. They left their job because they refused to wear a mask during the pandemic. They were a massage therapist, and they decided all these things and they gave up all their comforts and they lived on the cheap and you know but then they came into a lot of money and a family member a friend or family member died and they were really close and then they gave this person money and then that person, my friend, gave me the money. They gave me all the money to edit my book, which was many thousands of dollars, and I wouldn't have been able to afford it without that. And so there's two people, two of us anarchists who've decided we're not going to participate in this genocide. We're not going to participate in evil, no matter how hard, no matter how inconvenienced we are because of that decision. And both of us now are richer than we ever were before. And maybe that, yeah, you could say this is a coincidence, and fine. But I know better. I know that when you are really on the path, the universe will provide. I can't say as to how much it will provide. It may be a pittance. It may be only enough to survive. But, and even if you don't get anything back in terms of monetary or in terms of food, the benefit that the world gets from your decision is the gift. The people that see you and say, oh, that person is deciding to do something moral and give up all their creature comforts because they know that that's what the right thing is to do. And then that one person does something because they saw you, because and that there it is. That which you do unto others will be done unto you. What you've done to that person is inspired them, and they went to go inspire others, and then you were also inspired, and that was your gift. That was what you were given. Continuous inspiration to do that which is right and correct. Correct. That word means that which is at the core, the essence, the primal essence, the primal energy, the core, right? To say you're correct means that it's accurate as it gets because it's at the very core of something. And This is a state of mind, this is a state of mind. And when you step into that consciousness, Christ consciousness, most Christians would say, if they are in any way actually connected to the saint and the prophet that they say that they have allegiance to, they say that they believe in, that they love, that they worship. Whereas, as most people know, most Christians only wear it as a badge, and they don't actually follow Christ in any way at all. Because, sorry to say it, guys, but the government killed Christ. The government kills all the prophets. The government kills all those who would change the system of slavery. That's what they do. That's what they have always done. That's what they will always do, which is why government, at its very fundamental level, is a system of slavery. It's a system of coercion, violence, and theft and duress. You're under duress. If you don't do this, this will happen to you. It's violence. We will take from you whatever we want, whenever we want, regardless of whether you are in the right, because we have better lawyers, because we control the court system, because we control the mechanisms of reality. And this has become no more present than in the digital age because they control all mass media. People no longer have communities, they have Facebook groups, they have TikTok channels, they have all these things, but it's not in the physical. And the pandemic made it 50 times worse because people, I hear this is the most common comment that I get from people, and it's, oh well, and one of my friends in the How to Become the True Media class, which I'm in, a 23 week content creation course, which you know of, he said last night, he's like, yeah, well, my family for 80 years has gotten together. All five families, the branches of the main families, have come together in one place for 80 years. And then the pandemic happened, and then it ended. And then everybody, and then when people were free to move again, then they didn't want to do it anymore. Even though they were all vaccinated, even though they all, supposedly should feel safe, they don't. And for me, to double up on what I've said, natural law has proven to me without a doubt that following it is the correct course of action, and it is powerful beyond measure. But it's like Gandalf falling after he's fighting off that fire demon going down in the pit. You have to sacrifice your life. Whatever things that you planned on doing, it's over. You can't become that lawyer. You can't become that superstar. You can't do all these things because doing that would require you to become a pivotal person in the system. You have to pay the taxes. You have to do all these things. And that's not to say that you can't become a YouTube star or do all these things and not get paid or whatever, get donations. There's ways around it. That's how I do it. Everything is donations. My book will be basically free, but here's donate to me. And I've already had people donate to me hundreds of dollars. One guy donated $200 to me, and it's just like I haven't heard from him since, but I put that money towards the book, and he will definitely get a physical copy when that happens. And he supports me because he knows that what I'm doing is right. And there will be people in the system which can't leave. For whatever reason, they got family, they can't step past that the leap of faith to actually step into natural law, but they will stay in the system and support those who have decided to leave the system. And that's how this is going to happen. That's the only way it's going to happen, really, because we need the people in the system to help bridge the gap, because the system is so ever present, so in our face everywhere we go, that we need agents within the system. We need our own agent smiths. We need our own people that actually are on our side but are still pretending to be a part of it, even though they're not pretending. They are in the system, and they will suffer because the golden rule that which they are doing to others, or that which they are allowing others to do in their name via taxation, via endless wars that you don't actually care about or want to have done, or endless mass police forces, or endless social welfare programs which only benefit people that aren't you, and only strip from you all those taxes and increase the taxes and depreciate the value of your money, depreciate the value of your resources, depreciate the value of your time in the workforce, in the labor force, because of something that you've agreed to pay. So, long story short, that was a very long-winded answer, but that is my answer to how I have seen following natural law take precedent in my life.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's very valuable. I always like hearing anecdotes and people's stories and just what's been going on with them in terms of because that's actually a question I need to ask more often because especially I've had a lot of people that know natural law, so just like those anecdotes are really powerful because I don't I know it's in place just based off of the actions I've taken with this mindset and seeing the results that I get. It's happened numerous times. It's happened over the past 4 or 5 years, and it's just it is what it is. That's it. It's just very very simple. So in terms of so yeah, to transition from this to shadow work, if you want to give any sort of maybe if you're feel comfortable enough to like talk about a trauma that happened in your life in the past and just how that kind of affected you and then what you had to really do to kind of overcome that, or if you just know of some shadow
Yeah,
work
yeah, I'll talk
processes and
about it.
books and videos or anything.
Um, I didn't read any book about trauma or shadow work. At least, I mean, I read Freud and stuff like that. Uh, but um, Animus, Animus and Anima, was that one of Freud's books? But basically, my biggest trauma, I think, was when I was arrested, and for drinking in the park, drinking, smoking in the park, right? Nobody else in the park, but we were just there. And it was my own fault because I could have gotten out of it, but I confronted the police officers heavily. I said, "You're evil. You're the reason this world is fucked up, right? You are the problem." And I was so drunk. It was a bad scene, right? And then they gave me the chance to walk away, but I didn't take it. I wanted the conflict. And so they threw me in jail, and then I sued both judges that saw me. I sued all 3 police officers, and this was a very traumatic experience because then I was embroidered in the system of chaos magic. I was in the court system trying to use the same system of magic that they use, which is word magic, and I was trying to beat the devil at his own game. And it didn't work out well for me, and the original sentence that they gave me, they tripled it. And so, that changed my life quite a bit, and that trauma had me in a state of fear from the police, even in engaging with them or just being out in public. And it took me a while to shake that feeling. And what really got me through that trauma was continuing to double down on natural law and stopping drinking, because drinking wasn't doing me any good. If I hadn't been drunk, that whole scenario would never have happened. Alcohol was the problem, you know? And I'm not going to convince any police officer in a drunken rant that he's evil and that he's wrong and that what he's doing is wrong. All he sees is a drunk guy in a park ranting, you know? And so I planted a seed for sure, but it was a seed at the cost of many years of my life, not going to prison, but being on probation and having to not get jobs, which actually worked out great because that forced me to do uh, donation only jobs. It forced me, because I was now a criminal for resisting arrest and actually uh, assaulting a police officer is what the charge was, um, verbal assault, and that changed my life in a better direction. I stopped drinking. I got cleaner. I started detoxing, and that helped me escape the anger and the rage. because that's what I let that officer have. I flooded him with it. I shot it at him like a shotgun, just like, take this. This is how I feel about you. This is the reality, and you don't see it. Look at what you're doing, right? And um, maybe I reached him. Maybe he told somebody else, and then they're like, yeah, maybe that guy is right. Maybe we're gonna quit. And this was before Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. So things have happened, and maybe I planted a seed, but it definitely changed the course of my life. And how I got over that trauma was getting clean, getting sober, um, and getting on the path. Because all I had been doing for many years before that was just screaming at people, getting drunk and screaming, getting drunk and ranting and making posts, where the quality wasn't really there. It wasn't like Mark Pastia where he can scream and rant where it makes perfect sense and it's on point over and over and over again. Mark Pastia is one of my mentors and part of the association that I'm with, the One Great Work Network. Uh, this shirt right here, what on earth is happening.com. Lex Rex, the law is king. And what is the law? Natural law. That's what's king. Okay. It ain't no human being that's a king, you know? And this is the whole thing back to Christ. It's like that's the king. The Christ consciousness is the king, the true king. And it's not a person. It's each and every human being. It's each and every conscious being that can reach that state. So stepping into the work and avoiding all the things that I knew weren't good for me is really the best shadow work that I did. Besides, like, let's see, what year was that? Yeah, I had a lot of other of my friends really fall hard to drugs and alcohol around that time, a few of which actually died. And to me, since I had already had many experiences with these substances and seen it all go wrong, I was like, okay, obviously this is not good for me. Obviously, renting out my body to demons in the form of liquor is, probably not the best answer to my problems. And that became so apparent to me only when I was sober. Like, because I started drinking again after that for a short time. And I just had one 12-hour stint at the bar where it was just like, the most drunk I've probably ever been, and the next day I went on a bike ride with my mom, and I was like, "This is so dumb." And I was just in tears, like, we were in Germany during the pandemic, this was, like, August 2020, and I said, like, "Why am I doing this?" And she's like, "I don't know why you're doing it." And other people can drink alcohol and they can do these things and they're fine. But I'm not one of those people, at least not now. And I may be in the future if I ever, decide to go back down that road. But I think certain people just have, I mean, we're talking about trauma and shadow work, and a lot of my anger and resentment and fear is taken care of by the alcohol because it allows me to disconnect. It allows me to not care and to just you know, whatever. That's it. And in the not caring, it's not resolving any of my traumas. It's just burying them in more and more coats of misery because you need more and more alcohol, you need more and more substances to coat that pain. And then it just becomes a cyst. It becomes a tumor in your body that just calcifies and hardens and becomes more and more hard to deal with as time goes on because you're not dealing with it. You're only encasing it in armor so that it'll never be able to break free of you. And so that is the greatest shadow work is detoxifying, really stepping into the reality that I'm not suited for alcohol, because for a long time I was like, "Oh, I can handle it, I can handle it." And it never was even that bad for me, but it was to the level where I felt I'm not in control, and that's as bad as it needs to be for me. Um, so that and one of my favorite things to do is really just look at myself in the mirror. This is the best shadow work you can do. And I think I said this that through the last talk that we had. Just sit alone in a room, naked, preferably, so that you don't have anything outside of yourself. It's just you and the mirror. And just sit there and say, how am I the problem in this world? And really contemplate that. What am I doing that's actually benefiting the world? versus what am I doing that's not benefiting the world? And then weigh those out. And if you're really honest with yourself, because you shouldn't leave that room until you've really flushed this out, until you've really looked at the issue hardcore and been honest with yourself. And that's the greatest plague of this planet, is that people refuse to be honest with themselves. They can't, because to be honest with themselves necessitates change, great and terrible change for their lives. And people are not willing to sacrifice their lives, their creature comforts, for what's real. They want the illusion. It's like that meme that you always see on the internet: comforting lies, painful reality. And everybody is in the comfortable lies line. Nobody, or very few people, one person is standing there, and 100 people are standing in the comfortable lies section of the line. And that's the human condition, a state of slavery, because the reality is so dark, so terrible, so traumatic, that it's best to just let sleeping, demons be, and continue to pretend that we're not surrounded by Babylon Prime, and that, Moloch and the devil are all just cheersing to our downfall. And it's amazing to me that so many people, even if they can admit to you in a moment of weakness, let's say you're drinking with a buddy and they say, yeah, everything's screwed, I'm a bad person, but then they get sober again, or a few minutes later, like, no, everything's fine. And they can have this schism in their mind. They can have a total schism where they they hold two contrary beliefs simultaneously. They are free and everything's fine. They're a slave and everything's not fine. At the same time, they hold these beliefs. And so long as people refuse to really look themselves in the mirror and say, what's really going on with me, then the shadows will continue to manipulate them like a puppet. They'll be a puppet for the rest of their lives to their own unspoken, unhealed traumas. And you see these people every single day. These people who literally look like walking zombies, walking revenants that have just not been able to let go of the thing that killed them spiritually, mentally, emotionally long ago. And they're just corpses walking around consuming mass quantities at the cost of the planet, at the cost of freedom, at the cost of love and truth. They will continue to live the lie. And that is the greatest shadow work, to truly just be honest with yourself. Stop lying to yourself. That is the greatest form of shadow work.
Yeah, I mean, very well said. Because yeah, shadow work is literally just understanding yourself more. So if you're lying to yourself, you're not going to be understanding yourself very much.
Right.
Or I mean, yeah, or like you're saying, like you can have someone that is openly admitting, yeah, I'm not a good person. I am contributing to a bad system. But then a few minutes later, they can say, you know what, it's fine. I didn't mean that, or that's not true. I didn't. Maybe they'll gaslight you. Maybe they'll say they didn't even say that. So it's like it's very tough. That was why I had so much depression back from 16 years old to 23 years old, because I couldn't lie to myself. I knew what I had done, but I just didn't have the tools in my mental toolbox in order to deal with those things. So that's why I kept snowballing and I wasn't changing, because I didn't change my mindset. I was still using the same mindset that got me into the problem and try to get myself out of it. And that's not how it works. So
No, it
very
isn't.
valuable. I definitely appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that story, because I had no idea about any of that stuff. So I mean, I'm glad that you were able to, on your own, just be able
It
to
could have
stop.
been very ugly. I
Yeah.
was looking at I was looking at prison time, 10 years for assaulting a police officer.
And it
And
wasn't really assaulting, like you said, right? It was just
no, it
verbally.
wasn't. But that was just like the scare tactic. And
That's so pathetic.
and I went through a whole thing with Sovereign Citizen, and I researched all these things, and I paid this guy to help me with it, and it was all just like, I learned then that you do not want to play on the same field. You don't want to try to beat the devil at his own game, because even if you win in court, they're going to gang stalk you. They're going to show up at your house. They're going to break your window. They're going to do things because they know then that you know that they're a scam, that they're the culprits, that they're the criminals. And they're not going to let you get away with that scot free because, as I've said, these people are psychopaths. Most police officers are primary or secondary psychopaths, which means they were born that way which is not very likely, but they're secondary psychopaths. They've allowed their belief in authority to destroy their ability to care. They've allowed the state to become their state of mind. And in so doing, they have damned themselves and everyone that they interact with that isn't even their own family members, because they can't see, they cannot see, they are not seeing, they are not sees. See how I did that there? That's the strength. When you cannot see what you're doing, you are a not see. You are not seeing what you're doing. And therefore, you are always going to be a part of the problem, because this is about consciousness, awareness. Are you aware of what's around you and what you are doing? It's all about energy. Are you contributing towards the betterment of the electromagnetic field, or towards the chaos, towards the breaking down of the structures of balance? And in a lot of ways, I feel more and more all the time that, even though I'm not religious, I don't believe in the Bible or the Quran or any of these things. These are all tools for learning morality if you really dig deep enough and see it for what it is. But for the vast majority of the stories that they tell you, it's astral theology. It's all Gaian, it's all pagan religion, which is more close to reality than any religion is, because it's talking about the play, the connection that we have between the stars, the moon, the sun, the true Son of God, the sun. It's all within the wording, And in Islam, they worship the moon, and in Judaism, they worship the stars. It's all pagan. And people will say, "Oh, how could you say that?" And they got thousands of years of history. And it's like they have thousands of years of being perfect cult because it's out in the open and people don't see it. They don't recognize what's right in front of them because they've become desensitized to the world they live in, willingly or unwillingly. Because, like I said before, the trauma is so great about the truth of their actual state of being, which is a state of slavery, to these sorcerers, these true sorcerer supremes, who have nothing but ill will and ill intent towards the world that they're manifesting through the manipulations of people's consciousness. Um, and so, yeah. Next question.
I love the way that you talk and your mannerisms and just your presentation style. It's really good. I like it. Just like when you had you lifted up your shirt and you're like that's just getting right in the camera. It's just
Yeah.
I just love it. It's just you just like you're saying, I would fire you because your masculine presence is too much for me. So you
Yeah.
can kindly get off this interview right now, please.
Yeah.
You're making me feel very emasculated.
I feel threatened by his overpowering
Stop it.
directional force and assuredness in what he's saying. His confidence is scaring me.
His
Throw him
truth is
away.
hurting my truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
His truth is hurting my feelings, and therefore my feelings trumps. Or no, we don't use that word. It supersedes his truth.
Uh,
We should have fun with it. We should really engage. Like, we're not talking heads like you see on television, where they're all just giggling. They're all Xanaxed out. They all have had 5 gin and tonics before they ever went on air, and they're all just like, they're just like those people who are obviously kept pets, kept animals. They're in bondage. They have Stockholm syndrome. They're in love with their captors, and so they can't be genuine. And we're genuine, and so we can have this real back and forth banter about things that really matter. And we need to have more of this. We need to show people that we're not like depressed, crazy people that can't function, or are only interested in screaming at the system or tearing people away from it. No, we're flesh and blood human beings that love and care and want the best for everybody at the expense of no one.
I know.
And that's the big difference. We're a total inclusion, and the cult of COVID, the cult of government, is total exclusion. Everybody, oh, you're a woman, you stay in your pod. You're non-binary? Well, you have free range right now, but you're gonna stay in your pod later too. Oh, you're a man? Well, we're only gonna use you so long as you're useful, and then we're gonna gut you in a public square and then hang up your, we're gonna thrust your body down on a pike because a strong masculine presence is unacceptable to the New World Order. They can't have people who will actually defend truth and love and freedom. They need people who will accept tyranny. They need people who will accept doublethink. War is peace, you know? And that's the whole 1984 thing. War is peace. They want you to accept the inversion of reality. And we're not going to accept the inversion of reality. Are we, Nicholas? No, we're not. We are going to do whatever is necessary in order to perpetuate truth, love, and freedom and make sure that people hear it. Because right now, the lie is on a loudspeaker 24/7, the great lie. And people are believing it. They have been believing it, but many people are stepping away from it. Faith in government, faith in institutions, faith in the media, faith in Hollywood, faith in celebrities has plummeted. Plummeted. Just the World Trade Centers plummeting floor by floor, just like that. That is what's really occurred. And even the mainstream media has had to admit, like, people aren't following us. We don't know why. What should we be doing? Like they said this on air. And it's because people have pulled so far away from it that they've had to publicly admit that they've lost the people's faith. And think about how bad it really is for them to be able to do that. Because, you know, if it wasn't so bad, then they could play it off. But too many people know. Too many people are, reaching for the stars and saying, we don't need these monkeys on our back tearing our head out and moving our heads side to side and say, yeah, go there, and yeah, do this, and yeah, feed me, you know, because that's what the government is. It's a monkey on your back that's hitting you over the head and saying, do as I say, and you will do it and you will like it. And I'm not hurting you. No, you are doing this to yourself. It's like your older brother that's hitting you in the head with your own hand and saying, why are you punching yourself? Why are you punching yourself? And that's in essence what government is doing. And then they're making you pay for you punching yourself in the head. And
Yeah.
that is natural law. You are doing this to yourself and you're refusing to see it. And therefore, you are going to pay the consequences, you and your family and everyone that you love, because they are believing the great lie. And our task is to make the truth louder and more widespread than the lie. And until that happens, the lie will continue to grow strength or at least momentum. And until we reach the point in which it doesn't matter if the truth is louder than the lie, the momentum is so great that the calamity will be so tremendous that there will be no reconciliation between anybody and anything. The planet will probably be glassed from orbit. They'll just launch the nukes and say, we can't control the human race anymore, but we're still going to run things once we've erased them all. We'll just release the true bioweapon, which is just waiting on an orbital platform up there, just like Moonraker in the James Bond movie from the 70s. It's literally the plot of what they want and what they're going to get if the human race really rises up, but not soon enough to the point where the people who have their hands on the drones, have their hands on the levers of power, say, hey, we realize this is a scam, we're not going to do this anymore. And not only are we not just going to walk away, we're going to do what we can to arrest these people, to get these people, to get any police officers who do have a soul, who aren't total zombies, and say, hey, or the military. If you really are here to defend against enemies, foreign and domestic, clearly see who is the enemy of all life. Clearly see who is the enemy of all these things, which are the shadow government that rules the government from the shadows, that you don't know their names unless you know Klaus Schwab, unless you know the Rockefellers, unless you know the Clintons. These are all lieutenants, let's say, for the true evils behind the masterminds, the royal bloodlines, the families, which have been in power since before the time of the pharaohs. And if it hasn't been specifically them, it's been their family or those who hold lineages to that family bloodlines, which goes back so far. And think about the power and force and the momentum of a single family or even a small group of families, let's say 5, 6 families, even 12 families, to rule the whole world. after a few thousand years. Like what is so special about these people that makes them so sure that they are the destined ones to rule all? There has to be something there. And that's a whole nother podcast that we will have later. But the point of the story is, um, we have so much work to do. And for people to be able to be effective, they have to get into content creation. These little conversations that you have with people, that I have with people in the real world, those are all great. But that's like 1% of 1% of effectiveness. Whereas if you create content and you get it out there effectively on the internet, you can reach 100%. You can reach everybody. Like I've reached so many more people online that I'll ever reach in the physical realm. And I value and I cherish those moments that I get to talk to people and really inform them and have discussions about these things. But it is only in the digital realm that I felt that my work and the work of those that I respect and share, such as Mark Passio, Michael Tessarian, Alex Jones, and a few select others of people, and say what you want about any of these people. They're releasing information that is awakening people to the absolute fact that we're slaves. So whatever level of distrust you have for these people, what are you doing to awaken people to that? Most likely, it's a really big goose egg. It's a real big null, a zero, a nothing, a nada. And so to say then that you disagree with this person's style of content creation or this person's demeanor or their history. Mark Passio, for instance, was a Satanist. He was in the Church of Satan. He was a priest in the Church of Satan. And, he left that finding out that it was all rubbish and that it was truly demonic because you join it because you want power, you want prestige, you want the ability to control people mentally. But then once he realized that it was actually even more nefarious than that, and there was actually dead bodies in the garden, then he backed away from it. And most people will say, "Oh, he's a Satanist now. He was a Satanist then, he's a Satanist forever." And it's like you can't trust people. Well, then basically you're saying that anybody that has firsthand knowledge of evil is evil incarnate and they cannot be trusted, and anything that they say must be dismissed out of hand, and therefore you're only gonna believe and trust and follow people who have no firsthand knowledge of these things, of these organizations, of these cults. It's like listening to a police officer uh, and to tell you an ex-police officer saying, "I left because I realized that it was all corrupt," and then you're like, "You're still a police officer. You're still scum. I won't listen to you." Or saying that the police are angels heaven sent, the military is angels heaven sent, and you're a coward for having left. It's like it's a dichotomy that is a negative reinforcement that everybody's an agent. Everybody is against you. It's like that. It's the same as believing that you're the only consciousness and that everybody else is an NPC. You're literally in a video game and everybody else is fake and you're the only one. And that you're the only person that you can trust. So, don't shoot the messenger. Did you actually listen to the message? It's like somebody comes running up to you and they look, you know, something that puts you off. And they're saying, "There's a tidal wave coming. Let's run." And you look at the guy and you can hear something in the back of your head. You hear something, but you don't like the look of this guy. So you say, "Eh," and you turn around and then you go in your hut and the tidal wave hits and you die. Even though you heard something, you heard the wave approaching. And if you would have said, "Okay, tidal waves have happened in this area. This has historical precedent. Let me check into that. Oh, he's right. Let's run right now. Let's get these people. Let's do this." Oh no, instead you decided that because you don't like the way this person looks, sounds, or acts, you're going to dismiss the reality of what they're saying. You're going to take your emotional position or your prejudicial, racist, uh, hate-based, fear-based position, and you're going to ignore the reality that someone's sharing with you. You're going to ignore the information. You're going to say, "All right, I'm just going to go with my prejudice, and therefore I died. Therefore, I didn't actually see what was going on, and I paid the price. And this is natural law. That which you do unto others will be done unto you. What you just did is you ignored somebody telling you some important information, which you didn't even think to check on to see if it was important, and you pay the ultimate price. You immediately got that result. You drowned. And so there's many different ways to slice that cake, but in essence, what's pivotal right now is being able to reach the most people. And so that's why right now I'm focusing on my content creation, longer form, but also short form. So my TikTok, my Instagram, my Odyssey, and I'm getting into other ones because my TikTok is so insanely censored. I have 12,000 followers, but my average video gets like 50 views, which is mathematically impossible. It is shadow banned. I am removed. Um, and even though it says there's nothing like that happening, it's definitely happening. And then my one account, which I only have, like 500 followers, the average view is many times that. And so, that's just where I'm at. We got to reach the most people.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's exactly how it's going on with my channel. I have 1,500 subscribers, get like 30 views, 40 views, whatever else. So I edit my video, I throw up on BitChute. I only have 200 subscribers. I'll get probably 400, 500 views in like over the course of a couple months, like at least it will add up. And yeah, it's a huge difference. And I have what?
Excuse me for a minute. I got somebody at the door.
Okay. Ooh, get a little commercial break. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm back.
Okay, no problem. So, one thing that when you're talking about shadow work that was really, really powerful was when you're talking about like the naked mirror work and then asking yourself the question, what am I doing to contribute negatively to the world? Is very powerful. And I just wanted to reiterate that for people because I personally was doing mirror work last year when I was cutting out porn and all that stuff. I started being able to finally look at myself in the mirror and say positive things to myself for the first time and not feel like I was lying to myself.
Right.
I didn't feel awkward about it. I felt very genuine and sincere and like just staring at my eyes and saying, like, great job, man. Be proud of yourself. You're doing amazing things and you're not going into that cesspool anymore. So mirror work is extremely valuable. And I mean, maybe people not doing shadow work is what's keeping them also from not creating content at the same time because they're in like that fear mode. Maybe they don't have confidence in themselves. Maybe they've been like bullied in the past or what have you. And so like that's keeping them in that kind of mental prison of
Right.
I'm not going to put myself out there because I might get attacked or the government might put me on a list or whatever else it might be. So I think shadow work has a lot to do, or can have a lot to do with maybe a personal situation with somebody in terms of them choosing to not create content, even though they do have a lot of information. My brothers included. They have a lot of good information on cryptocurrencies, and they've been pretty darn right about a lot of stuff, and they have a lot of information they could share, and it would be very impactful for people because a lot of people still think Bitcoin is something that should be supported when it's not even doing what it was supposed to do for the past, I don't know how many years now. So that's
Well,
great.
if you're going to use cryptocurrencies, you have to have your own wallet. You cannot use an exchange like Coinbase, and you need to use it all the time. It's not it could be an investment, but for the most part, if you want crypto to work the way it's supposed to work, you use it between another individual, just between you two and your wallets. There is absolutely no record of what you've done. You don't need to go through PayPal. You don't need to go through Coinbase. You don't need to go through all these things, and therefore the government is completely cut out of all your financial transactions. That is the correct way to use cryptocurrency. If you're not using it that way, then you're not doing what it was meant to do. You're actually just trying to get rich. You're just actually trying to have some investment, and you don't actually have faith. You don't actually believe in what it is. And so
Yeah.
that's all I have to say about crypto. I own crypto, and I actually I did it so long ago that I haven't even checked on it. I had a Coinbase, and I haven't checked it in so long. I don't even know what's going on with it. And so I did use it as an investment, but if I'm going to really walk the talk, then I have to get my own wallet, which is what I was going to do in 2011 when I first decided to get into crypto. Which, if I would have done that, then I would have been a multi-billionaire now. The money that I was planning on investing, but then I would have been dead because I would have been, uh, so unhealed trauma, and I'd have unlimited funds to party, and then that's a very bad mix. So it's like a lot of times people feel like they've missed out on a huge investment opportunity, but they don't see that if they really had succeeded in getting all those funds, their life would have changed fundamentally, and they weren't ready for that huge amount of funds. Like one of my other mentors, he always used to say, "You don't know how people are gonna function until you got gas in the tank. You don't know how things are gonna turn out until you've actually given it power." And people are machines, biological machines. More than that, we're spiritual beings, obviously, but we're mechanical androids for lack of a better word. We're programmable, and people have been programmed since pre-birth, since the womb, to be consumers, to be mindless consumers, and to uh, party till you drop. And it once you give people unlimited funds to do that, all thoughts of growth and personal development tend to like just be eviscerated. And that's why most people that run into a lot of money unexpectedly lose it all within a year or two. And then their lives are much more horrible. Their family structure has fallen apart because they never had gas in the tank, and they finally did. And then now, they're driving a Charger Hemi, 12 uh, 12 valve or whatever it is, and just they run straight into a brick wall because they had no experience with what it's like to have these desires, and then the actual ability to act them, the actual ability to step into that. And so I'm thankful that didn't happen to me, because that would have really changed the course of my life, and I may have never become an anarchist. I may have never done all the things that I've done if I had just fallen into a lot of money. So there's a little bit about my crypto story, but in essence, um, if you're gonna use crypto, get your own wallet. You're not there. It's not an investment. It's a tool to be used in exchange for fake money, for the other fake money because crypto is a fake money too, although it's far more integrated and far more useful than the dollar or the euro or the yen or the ruble or anything else, because all these monetary systems, these fiat currencies, are based on violence, coercion, and theft, which is government, which is the problem, which is not helping any of us. So if you're using crypto between, like, let's say you and I, we exchange goods between each other and we have the crypto wallet, not a damn soul's ever going to see that purchase. No one will ever find out about that, and therefore not a single tax dollar will ever be lost, and therefore you and I will continue to retain 100% of everything that we make. And the government can't say a damn thing about it because we don't have any agreements with the government. And then people will say, well, you participate in society and you ride on the roads and the taxes pay for the roads. And no, they don't. The local businesses and the local corporations pay for those things because they need them to conduct their business. And like 100% of corporate taxes go towards the military industrial complex. And your money goes towards feeding the debt, which can never be repaid, which is perpetual debt, indentured servitude. The debt can never be repaid. It's financially and mathematically impossible, and therefore we will eternally be bound to these private banks, plural, that own the Federal Reserve, and they're private shareholders. The Federal Reserve is just about as federal as Federal Express. And so these are the things that people have almost no clue about. And the Fed, that thing was just, they infiltrated and the Fed and Occupy Wall Street, and then it was just whitewashed. And now we went from let's destroy the banks, let's cut our ties to these things. They're destroying our liquidity, they're destroying our value of our livelihoods and everything like that. It went from that to support the largest corporations at all costs, and small businesses be damned, and let's lock down the planet in favor of all these multinational corporations, which hold fealty to no one but their power and the centralization of that power into fewer and fewer and fewer hands as these corporate monopolies merge and become ever greater abominations on the planet. Which, remember, they are now actual people, so they have more rights than you do, and they will use these rights whenever it suits them to increase the size of the behemoth monster that they've become. Um, yeah, next question.
Yeah, so with with crypto, like the just briefly, I would say like if you're gonna invest in it and you want people to use it, I mean right now it's cool because you can buy something potentially online, you can get it for you, but if things get a little bit more concentrated in a local area in your like neck of the woods, maybe like your city or just your state. I mean, how many people in your area that you can actually reach by driving are gonna know about it and then be willing to accept that for something physical? That's one of the things that that's why I have my toes dipped in it a bit. My brothers keep telling me to invest more in these certain ones. And I'm like, it's like, who am I going to give this to later on? And who's going to give a crap about it if the time comes? Because like right now, not many people know about the ones that they're talking about. So it's like, it's not going to be any use of to me. So I try to get physical things right now. I'm trying to have physical things in my possession, like food or water or like Shilajit, my ozone
Prepping,
generator, all that stuff. So that's where I
prepping.
kind of stand on that. And then earlier, like way back in the beginning of this interview, when you were talking about community, how we used to have community, and now it's it's like a Facebook group, and that's a very powerful thing because that is where I'm going to lead to is like the prepping mentally, physically, spiritually, and I think community is one of those fundamental aspects because you're not just going to lone wolf it and really survive
No,
and thrive. You really
no,
need to have some sort of, communal sort of thing. So in terms of just prepping mentally, physically, spiritually, like you kind of been doing, like detoxing and just getting more active, that's definitely one way. But if you just want to delve into that in your own personal life, or and
yeah,
maybe things that you haven't done yet, but things that you know are beneficial to do, if you have any insights on things that people can do as well, that'd be great.
sure, yeah. Prepping, storable food, long-lasting storable food, storable water, medicines, alcohols for antiseptics, bandages, guns, bullets, um, and learning skills, learning foraging, learning how to find fresh water sources, getting used to going without food, getting used to being exposed to the elements, toughening yourself up. Like that's the number one thing in prepping is really getting your body physically ready for a confrontation, getting your mind ready for a confrontation, whether that be just a one-on-one fight in the street or an all-out full-scale civil war, or even a full-scale modern war. If things get so bad and then the UN declares the United States under civil emergency and they send in their Chinese troops, and you know this is people say this is a fairy tale. It's like, no, well, have you been paying attention to what the UN is saying? Have you been paying attention to what uh, all these super state conglomerates are claiming to have ownership, claiming to have sovereignty and authority over your life and your country because they've infiltrated the mechanisms of government and now control these things. So all that has to come into consideration. And for the most part, the best thing that you can do to start prepping is to um, figure out what you have in your house, figure out what areas of your area where you can go in your area if things really go down. The last place you want to be is in a large metropolitan city. The very last place you want to be. It'll be like the Fallout games, where if you're in the major metropolitan areas, that's where the most powerful, most insane ghouls and zombies and super mutants are, because that's where the mass of uninformed, total thrall state slaves to the state are. the people who believe hook, line, and sinker in government, hook, line, and sinker in society, and hook, line, and sinker in the natural order of what has been created by the government. That's where they all are. And that's where the least amount of food is grown. That's where the least open spaces are. That's where the least health and wellness is. And that's where the most corruption is. So to be there is ludicrous in a state. Like if there's a solar flare, totally natural, and we lose all power, even if there's no bad actors really, if you have no food for 3 days and you're in a city of 5 million people in a few square miles, people are going to start eating each other. There's going to be things, it's like the Joker said in the Batman movie, like you think these people, like if you take away their creature comforts, they're going to eat each other. I'm just ahead of the curve. And this is the whole ideology of a lot of these bad actors, is that they see themselves as interspecies predators, and they will do whatever it is they need to do to reap the greatest reward from the people that they're preying on. And so that's why guns are so important. Uh, that's why informing yourself about psychology is a great form of prepping. People don't even think about that. Well, if you understand the psychology of human beings in general, and then different segments of society, the criminal psychology, if you study, the psychology of a doctor, the psychology of someone who works in a meat factory, the psychology of a preschool teacher, all these things go into the play. They amalgamate into a ball which rolls down the hill of reality. It rolls down the time frame, and it spits out from itself like electric shocks the results of all these things that have been caught up in it, as we keep talking about these energetic relationships. And so the psychology of the criminal mind. You can create every gun law on the planet. A criminal is going to own a gun not because he wants to defend himself, but because he wants to take things from you. And so the people who are most likely to die in a circumstance where, like let's say the power goes out, are the people who believe that the government will always be there for them, that the government is the only source of safety, the only security net they need. It used to be in World War II, but, which wasn't that long ago. People think that that's ancient history. That is so recent. There's still people who, my grandmother, she was alive, at that time. There's still so many people who remember it or even fought in it. There's still World War One soldier. I think the most recent one just died recently. So, um, but during that time, people had victory gardens. They had gardens that they made because all the production of the U.S. was going towards the war, right? And so overnight, people created victory gardens, and then they produced over 30% of all their food in their own gardens. And then it only grew, and then people were way more self-sufficient in the older times. But because government requires a disempowered, needy populace to rule over, they've been stripping us of all these capabilities, stripping us of all these um, things that we have always done. The ability to take care of ourselves has been removed slowly over time, because an empowered, self-sufficient population cannot be dominated. And so that's the first thing that they attack, is people's self-sufficiency and the cohesion of society and community in general. So prepping community, like you were saying, so key, so key. You need to find the group of people around you that feel the same, act the same, and are engaged in making the world a better place instead of the opposite. So, yeah, get into nature as much as you can and really see the difference in how you feel there as opposed to in the city. And realize that maybe the city isn't for you, because even if you have a cabin in the woods, all prepped, everything's ready, all the guns, food, ammo, everything is there, how are you going to get there from the city if something goes wrong? You have to leave that city within the hour of the first thing that goes wrong. The power goes out, and like you won't know. Who would know if all the power went out in the city from a solar flare or an EMP or something like that? How would you know that it's not going to come on for 3 months? And then would you really feel, okay, I need to go to my cabin? How many people would just sit tight And then how long would it take all those people who are sitting tight to start to get hungry, to start to get scared, to start to get frustrated, to start to get angry? And then how quickly will it be until civil order totally collapses? You know? And it's like mental health and emotional well-being have absolutely plummeted and appreciated over the last few years, especially since the pandemic. And because of this, there's so many people among us who are mentally ill, who are deranged, who are violent, and who will come at you at the drop of a hat if the social order, you know, depreciates even by a fraction. Because there's still people like that who will attack you on the street for a loaf of bread or for you looked at them wrong. You go to the wrong side of town, and that'll happen anywhere in any city. So yeah, the largest and most important prepping tool is mental fortification. You need to fortify your mind, fortify your spirit. You are in this world, but you are not of it, which means that you do not hold allegiance to the physicality. You may lose your life, and that is a guarantee, but to lose your life in the service of the truth, love, and freedom is no great loss. You have done a great service. And like I said, that is the essence. And it's like I like to quote the Bible, even though I'm not religious, and it says, "Those who give up their lives, uh, will end up retaining it. But those who refuse to give up their lives will lose it." And this is that whole notion. Those who refuse to disconnect from the physical world as the primacy of matter. Matter is everything. The Newtonian physics. Everything is a math equation. There is no spirit. None of that matters. My bank account is the only wellspring of knowledge. It's the only mana from heaven I truly need, which is my bank account. And so long as I have that, be damned with the rest. This is the sickness. This is the soul sickness. This is the ego taking hold, taking root in people's lives to such an extent that they would damn all of creation in order to remain comfortable in the illusion that they've fabricated around themselves or allowed themselves to fall into at the behest of these sorcerers unseen.
Great points, man. Great points. I mean, definitely covered like the basics: guns, alcohol, food, water, skills, though skills and foraging. Foraging is super important. Tons of things that I see around in my neck of the woods that nobody knows about. Garlic chives are everywhere. Landscapers use them willy nilly, and people will think it's just like some sort of ornamental grass, even though you can eat it and put it in a salad or do whatever. Pickle
All
with some.
grasses can be eaten, every single one. And they're some of the most nutritious things on the planet. There's a book called The Wild Wisdom of Weeds. And it's all about this lady that basically says everything that people think is a weed is actually a miracle plant. It's actually an herb. Um, and, you know, she just lays it all out, like dandelion roots or
Mhm.
dandelions. Like they're everywhere. They're unstoppable. And they're some of the most anti-cancer, anti-inflammation, pro-health thing that you can eat. And yet people just spray it copiously with Roundup. And they're all kill this weed. Even though it's a beautiful flower, it's got, that bright yellow flower, but then it's got the stem, and oh no, the leaves are curved and wicked, and of course Monsanto said that I need to shoot it at least 6 times with glyphosate so that I can poison my land and my family, and make sure that Bayer, which now owns Monsanto, can reap in the profits eternally and forever, while murdering the planet, because that's the thing. um People are worried about climate change. They're worried about overpopulation. And it's just like people are made to fear and to worry about things that don't even exist. Overpopulation is a myth. We can hold 50 billion people on the earth easily. But it's the way that we're living that's the problem. And it's the amount of resources that we're extracting. And it's the total disregard for nature that is really causing the problem. And that, again, this is done by the multinational corporations, which hold fealty only to their bottom line. And the deeper you go into it, they're all satanic. They're all, child murderers and rapists, and the people at the true echelon, the peak of power, because they're twisted. They're so soulless, so dead from the pursuit of monetary and physical pursuits that they could care less about morality. Morality to them is a weakness only found in others. To them, That's why they do the cremation of care ceremony at the Bohemian Grove, because they want to be forgiven. They want to burn away their care. That's why they burn a child, or an effigy of a child, if you believe, their cop out story, in order to say, please burn away our care so that we may dominate the world and not actually have any feelings about it that affect us negatively. Imagine, just imagine burning an effigy of a child and saying, "Oh Moloch, our god of ancient Mesopotamia, give us the power to continue to rule over all of these slaves. Uh, and here is the sacrifice showing you that how much we want power and what we're willing to do in exchange for that power. Just make sure that we don't actually have any feelings, that continue to feel great about what we're doing. And then we're going to continue to do this ritual every single year, surrounded by the most powerful white men ever to exist. But it's just a boys' club, and they don't actually talk about anything important, and they don't actually decide on anything important. Just like the Bilderberg Group, and just like the Council on Foreign Relations, and just like the Club of Rome, and just like all these boys' clubs that have the most Fortune 500s and Fortune 15 that you don't even know about, that are above the Fortune 500, and all these things that you don't want to know about and don't think are real but are. Um, so yeah, that's prepping. What's next?
Yeah, just to circle back at least a little bit, just to some of the other things you said, like the personal checklist of things you own. I think that's very valuable because obviously that's why I've been wanting to do that. Like, I know I have some food, I know I have some water, I know I have some medical supplies, I know I have some supplements. So I'm trying to get and I have a ton of that Shilajit, so I know that I got other things I need to get, like bullets or whatever else. Like you're talking about, like alcohol, like even if you get those little tiny bottles of alcohol, that can be something you just keep in a bag or keep in a box, put in your closet, and you can
Just
save
go
that
to
for a rainy day.
Costco, go to Walmart, whatever, and get a couple handles. Get a couple big ass bottles of tequila or vodka, and then just that's really good for disinfecting wounds, because if you're get hurt out there, there ain't no more hospital, son. There ain't no ambulance coming for you. You just fell on, a stick, and you got impaled in your leg. You need to make sure that's disinfected. You need to make sure that you bandage that up, and you are in charge of healing yourself. So yeah, I own all those things that I mentioned.
Uh,
Besides medicines, I need to stock up more on medicines, bandages, but I have the alcohols and the guns and the ammo and the food. I have so much food and water. I started prepping in 2010. So like I
wow.
was like, okay, it's going to be the end of the world in 2 years. I better just stock up on everything. And I was working at the time, so I had plenty of money, and everybody thought I was crazy. And then, like, over the years, we busted out those food packages, because they get old after 10 years. And we've used them, and they're great. And like, instead of going to the store, like, hey, we just opened this box up and we have food for a month, let's do that, and then I'll just buy more and get better versions or whatever. It's the importance of preparation cannot be underestimated, because if you're stuck in a situation and you have no preparation, I'm sorry, my friend, but you're at the whim of everything around you. You have nothing to fall back on. Even a pocket knife, even having a pocket knife with you, makes you 1,000 times more effective at survival in any circumstance at any time. And yet, how many people carry pocket knives around? How many people are afraid of knives? How many people are afraid to even have the notion of self-defense? And the idea of prepping to them is a right-wing conspiracy nutcase, the you know the the Heaven's Gate cult level Mormon ludicrous stuff. That they always, the media always has to pressure and promote. Uh, they have to pressure people into believing that the things that are good for them are bad for them. They need to hoodwink them in that regard, and they need to dissuade anybody from learning about the truth, dissuade anybody from having their own power. All the power that people are allowed to have are the power of choice between red or blue every 4 or 2 years. That's their power. That's their choice. You got to choose between two primary colors. Don't you feel like you're participating? Don't you feel like you're prepped for whatever may befall you? Yeah, no, you're not. You're a puppet on a string, and you're being led into the slaughter. And you don't think that's true because you're projecting your morality onto people who have no morality. And you're thinking, they wouldn't do that because I wouldn't do that. And I'm sorry, my friend, but you're in a state of absolute and total delusion. And your belief in that illusion is bringing others around you down because you're pressuring them to believe the lie. You're pressuring them to commit ever more of their life and their freedoms towards that illusion. Otherwise, they're ostracized. They're not coming to the family gathering. They're not coming to the wedding. They're not coming to this, and that. You're banned. You're out of the will. You're out of the inheritance. Well, good, good. I don't want to be a part of your fucked up system. I don't want to be a part of this world that you want, that you're summoning. You're summoning. You may not be, laying the brickwork. You may not be writing the chalk lines to create the symbols, the emblems to summon these demonic forces, but you're sure as hell cheering on the people that are. You sure as are. You sure as hell are preventing your friends and family from stepping away from that circle and deciding, hey, you know what? It looks like you're summoning a demon. Maybe we shouldn't do this. No, shut up. We're not summoning a demon. This is good. This is right. This is what's real. And like we said before with the shadow work, people cannot be honest with themselves and they cannot be honest with their friends and family. They go along to get along. They do not want to voice themselves. The greatest fear on the planet is public speaking, not death, not murder, not violent murder, not sickness, not any of these other calamities and things that you should be worried about. It's being able to voice yourself in front of others. That is the number one fear on the planet. How is this so? Because the social engineering of the slave state, of the slavery system, of government, all governments at all times, has reached this level. People have been so bamboozled for so long that the default mode is speaking is dangerous. Voicing myself will cause pain and misery, and therefore I won't. And therefore, anybody else who speaks out against the narrative, the loudest narrative, which is the lie, is the enemy. Is the one to be destroyed, is the one to be shunned, to be cast out into the street, into the cold, dark night. That is what they shall be relegated to. That is the world that they belong in. And the world that I live in is the real one. And, be damned with the rest. Now, how insane is that?
And to go along with you like people getting thrown into the cold dark world, that's like when you're talking about prepping, like toughening yourself up, like maybe going like a period of time without eating for a few days, or not like a few days of not eating, but like wait a while to eat and maybe have a little bit of food just to mentally prepare yourself. Being out in the elements, that was a great point. Yeah, like with me, like I can sometimes be like, oh my god, it's so freaking humid outside. I'm just gonna come inside, air conditioning. Ooh, it's so great. But yeah, going outside and dealing with that and sitting out there and toughening out, that's really good information. And then obviously psychology, mental fortification. You're like doing the shadow work in your own life. When I did one of my videos about my porn addiction, my first video where I talked about it, I had it's like a 16-minute video. At the end, I said, people like this, like I'm so glad I'm doing this now before things get worse in the world, because if I was doing this stuff right now or like in another year or two, holy cow, I would be in a really really bad spot. My ability to make decisions and just whatever else, and I would already be so stressed out anyway just because of the way I was living. And then I was so weak and my brain wasn't functioning properly. So like that's extremely important. So like the shadow work is crucial with prepping. Yeah, and then just mental fortification, just knowing psychology, knowing how people can act in situations and scenarios based off of their, like the way that they've grown up and just like the all that stuff. It's just super important. So I know that we're already at hour 43. I want to kind of wind this down. So if you want to go through just we've already talked about a little bit about your content creation, doing like the short videos, doing the book, which is excellent. If you just want to give some insight on how you avoid burnout, so like overloading yourself to the point where you just say, okay, I need to take a break from this because I'm not like with me, I have that issue sometimes, like not finding a balance, giving myself a hard time for not editing some of my interviews, and then I just put myself in like a standstill where I don't create anything. So if you want to give some tips and insights on how you avoid burnout, and then from there we can go through just where people can find you, and then go into your book a little bit for the final.
Sure. Well, the best way to avoid burnout is to have a strong connection with nature. Like today, I spent right before our interview, I spent like 2 hours at the beach, and I ride on an e-bike everywhere I go, and I'm always out there in the fresh air, always like just sitting in the sun, really feeling the processes of my body, really feeling the way I feel, being present and aware with how I feel in nature versus in a room, in a box. That's what houses are. They're boxes. And boxes are all straight lines. They're all 90-degree angles, which is box think. It's not sphere think, it's box think, which is pure left brain linear thinking. And we're supposed to live out in the open with the open, infinite sky where anything is possible. Hey, you guys want to build the pyramids? Oh, yeah, let's do it, man. Anything's possible. But you live in a box long enough. Hey, guys, let's build the pyramids. That ain't possible, bro. Let's just have a couple brewskis and, chill out, And it's important to realize how your environment is, you know, changing your personality, changing how you feel. So, um, that is key to avoiding burnout, and then finding things that you really love to do, and enjoying the whole process of content creation. Brew yourself up something, have a really nice drink, uh, relax, and then just go into it. Like when I was writing my book, I would wake up every morning, have breakfast with my mom, and then go upstairs. We shared an office, and both of us would just share coffee and tea and toast in the morning, and that was really nice. It was like a let's just settle into it. Let's not rush. Let's not throw ourselves out of bed, throw our clothes on, shove whatever we can in our mouth, and then just run to work, and then just like slam a coffee, and then do stupid things faster because that's what you do with coffee. And then instead of that, let's really enjoy, ease into it. Rev up your engine before you go peel out and go max instead of just start the engine up cold and go straight. You're going to burn out guaranteed. All right. So mix and match things that you love and that are really comforting, but also help you create. Like caffeine really helps me create. And then during the whole time that I wrote my book, I stopped smoking cannabis, stopped taking cannabis, which was necessary for me. I love cannabis. It's a miracle plant. It has so many uses. It's anybody who thinks that it's a bad thing is a total retard and just needs to be slapped over the head. I'm sorry, you're a retard, and you need to get your head examined. So just drop a couple edibles and then just go sit in the wild, and then have the fear of your life, have an ego death. Because you can take enough cannabis where you literally have a psychedelic trip so strong it's equivalent to a DMT trip. It's equivalent to, and I've even heard from people that say that you can even go beyond, which I don't know how it's even possible to go beyond a DMT trip. But if it is, I probably don't want to go there. Nobody wants to go there because it's not a place. It's it's a place. It's not a place. It can't be found unless you've already been there. So to quote a movie that I probably shouldn't be quoting, but as with so many things in life, you can draw from things which are inherently negative, like Hollywood in general, because they have to add little things of truth and good things, um, which is how I feel about like the Bible. There's a lot of negative things in there. Women are only three-fourths of a man, et cetera, et cetera. You must observe Romans 13. Even though we killed Christ, you must obey the Romans. Like it's all these things, but then you separate the wheat from the chaff, and then all of a sudden you see the good from the bad, the right from the wrong. And in terms of content creation, once you see what the right is, you have to throw yourself into that. Whatever, like I have other content creation friends who all they do is memes. They just put memes up on the screen and then they just laugh at it. They say, hey, look at this, and they got tons of followers and tons of people that love it because memes are king right now. And then I have other friends who their content creation is so esoteric and out there, and it's like, but they have a lot of people that follow them, And then there's other friends of mine who, they only create one thing a year, it seems like, because they're burnt out. They can't do it. They no longer feel the pull, the drive. They feel like they're not getting anything out of it. But you have to figure out a way to do what needs to be done, even though you feel like you're not getting anything back. And that's the greatest hurdle to start following natural law. Until you've actually felt the kickbacks, until you've actually felt the reciprocating benefits, it's like you can't believe in it. You can't take that leap of faith. And anything that you contribute to that cause will be half-hearted at best. Um, so taking time for yourself, realizing when you're not actually creating things that are to the best of your ability, stepping away from it, and then maybe you just need you time. Maybe you just need to go play video games. Maybe you just need to go uh, get drunk or do something that you really enjoy to relax, whatever that thing is. We all have our thing, and if you don't know what that thing is, that's another problem. And that's a part of the shadow work, really looking at yourself and saying, not only what am I doing that's good, what am I doing that's bad, but what am I not doing, or what could I be doing that would actually benefit my life personally, that would change the trajectory of my life and what I'm doing. So in terms of burnout, yeah, that's pretty much it.
I couldn't have asked for a better response. That was fantastic. Wow. Um, yeah, a lot of great insights, a lot of great tips, a lot of great, food for thought. Connecting with nature, feeling the way I feel. That was very poignant for me. Finding things you love to do, enjoy content creation. Make, like you said, make a nice drink for yourself. Ease into it. Don't rush. Don't just go 0 to 100. Very good points, because a lot of that is relevant to my own life, and those are tips that I can definitely use for myself to stay more consistent and not lose that drive. Because I know, like, yeah, I'm getting shadow banned left and right, big whoop. But I just inspiring person, just one person commenting and saying, wow, that was really great. I'm so glad you had I'm shocked you had the ability, or like the bravery to, like, be so vulnerable online with a bunch of people randomly that you don't know. And it's like, yeah, it's like that, just like, that's like, a comment like that is just amazing for me. So yeah, so like, those are just great points. So very valuable. I can't wait to rewatch this when I edit this video, and just take that all in again, because that's a good thing, a good reminder for me personally, on a personal level. So I know that's if anyone watches this and they're into content creation or are concerned about something like burnout, that response that you just gave would be a phenomenal answer for them. And then, just so, yeah, to finish it out, if you want to talk about a little bit more about your book, I know you covered it a little bit. It's in the editing process. If you just want to talk about that, I'll have your website up here. So, and then just, yeah, where people can find you and how they can support you in your work.
Sure. All my work can be found on my website, um, danielshanemaddox.com. You can see my name there. Um, and at least the vast majority of it, anything that I make
Ooh.
recently, like, get what you just saw there, that was the One Great
Mm-hmm.
Work Network. So there's certain ones that I have there that I might not have at other places. But um, that is where I'm going to start uploading all my things onto one site. But you can find my YouTube, my Twitter, or my TikTok. I think I need to add, yeah, my TikTok's not there, but I'm gonna add that later. And this is part of the thing, like, it's never gonna be perfect, but you have to start somewhere. And it took me like a month to be able to figure out how to even put things on this site. Like, it was so complicated. I had to take a course just to be able to do it, because it's basically coded. You have to be able to decide for yourself what is worth your time, what is appropriate for your skill set. If you are not at all inclined towards technology, and not only are you not inclined, you actually feel sick, or you don't, it's just not your thing, then step away from that. Do something else. Write a book, give speeches, draw painting, whatever it is that can help you create things which help inspire people. And so Empowered Youth is my main TikTok channel. Um, so like as you can see there, the general, it's like less than 100 for my videos, even though I have 12,000 followers. It's statistically impossible. I'm shadow banned. And so and then I have another TikTok which is obviously subliminal, which is not up there, but it was one that I created to be able to get away from the shadow ban. Um, and so that's the thing. If you're shadow banned, if you're banned, you need to go somewhere else. You need to do something else. You need to adapt. Okay. And so you can find me there on the One Great Work Network, and my website. I haven't done anything with my YouTube for quite a while, but the main focus that I'm in right now is my book, which you can see there, and a little bit down, yeah, there, upcoming series, Resonance Born. So, what I wrote during it says October 1st. I hope that's the case. My editor's sick right now, so hoping for a digital release by October, maybe not October 1st, but we'll see. And then a physical copy will come whenever it comes. Um, and it's not for sale. It is donation only, and whatever you donate is what it'll be. And I've, you know, given it away. I've released all the worries, and I've just said I'm creating this because this is. You see, I got my cryptos right there that I all set up. I have all those crypto. Um, so it's just things that empower me to do what I do. If I ever actually check, I don't even know if people could be paying me hundreds of thousands of dollars in crypto, and I wouldn't know because I haven't checked my wallet. Um, but the book series is about the New World Order. It takes place in 2020, and it's about a group of kids or young people that develop psychopathy, where they instantly become killers. They just have to kill everyone around them. But at the same time, they're also given supernatural powers. And very quickly, the New World Order and the shadow governments want them for themselves. And so it's a chase between these groups of people to get to them, and either convert them or destroy them. And I go deep into occult methodologies, which means hidden methodologies of the shadow government. I go deep into how they operate, their psychology. I go deep into um, just the mentality in general of soldiers, order followers, the military-industrial complex, the corporatocracy. I go into all these things that are very real and present in our world and have been, and I weave it into seamlessly into a wonderful science fiction epic, which I have termed future history because it's already many of the things that I've predicted in the book have already come to pass, and it's only going further down what I said it was going to happen. And so I write about things which I see coming and I don't see as avoidable, and so that's why I call it future history. And I weave into it all the things that can help people break free of the matrix, can help people break free of their mental slavery. And I've had a really great time doing it. And I never wrote anything this long. It's 500 pages. It was 1,000 pages. I edited it down to 500. And there's several other books that I'm writing right now. And I'm just going to keep going. And no one is going to stop me. Nothing is going to stop me. You're going to have to put a bullet in me. And even then, you won't stop me. I am going to do this. I am doing this. And that is your ticket out of the matrix. Willpower and imagination. Do it. There's only, the answer to all these questions is just do it. Do it. I hate to support Nike in this, but they don't own that saying. Just do it. The work, the work is there. Do it the best way you know how. And, you know, let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, man, I'm so pumped for this book. I'm very excited for this to be released. I can't wait because I'm obviously gonna get it, and I can't wait to just read it and just dissect it and just yeah, it's just gonna be awesome. And then we can talk about it once I get once I punch through it and get through all those pages. Then I would love
Yeah.
to have you on and talk about it.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. For sure.
absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna be yeah, it's good. Like, yeah, it's just awesome. So this is a series, right? This is gonna be a
Yeah.
multiple. So the other books that you're writing are in this
Y-
storyline.
yes, yes,
Okay.
they're part of the same universe. It's similar to Brandon Sanderson's books, in which each book, each series all ties in, but they're not necessarily connected in time and space.
Okay.
So, but they will all tie in to the resonance, which is the theme of the whole series, which is, as what I discussed much of our interview here, that we are all interconnected energetically and it's inescapable. And no matter how far, no matter how long this has gone on, those connections remain, and you cannot escape from what you've done, which is the primary theme of Resonance Born.
I don't think, yeah, because right when you said the name of it again, resonance, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, because even though they're not connected, it's still, it's the resonance, so it is connected in some way. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. That's a good way to good way to put it. It's a great concept too. It's like it's just really good. I'm very excited for that. I'm so happy that you came back on. I'm so happy that you're still going with the book. It's almost out. It's like even if it's delayed a little bit, it's so close now. So
it's
it's
so close,
it's so close.
so
I'm excited.
close.
And I just had
Yeah,
Corey and Endralot on my channel, and he's an author. And I just had Glenn Trauma on my channel on Sunday, and he's an author. So just having like in a different content creators, not just video, but then also in a physical book format. I think it's just so incredible. Like for me, it seems so monumental of a task, and for people that don't make videos, they like, oh my god, like they're that are just in audio, like and Andre Mitty that I just had on. He just mostly audio podcasts. So for him, like thinking about videos, it's just like, oh my god, it's so like crazy. I can't imagine having to do that because it's just not something that you're used to. But yeah, man, you're such an inspiration. I love talking with you. It's already been over 2 hours. I can't believe it. And yeah, I just hope that we can do this again, even if it's like me and you and somebody else. Like I think like me and Andre are talking about doing like tag teams, but like I could tag team with you too and do like interviews with other people or talk about anything and talk about like
we could have a roundtable discussion.
yeah, roundtable discussion. I think that'll be very valuable. Yeah, this is not gonna be the last time you see whatever. I'm getting Andre. I'm getting all these people in my mind. This isn't gonna be the last time you see Daniel on my
No,
channel. So I'm very excited to have you back on. Wish you the best of luck.
yeah,
Keep working out and doing and exercising, detoxing, staying healthy, get your mindset
it's not about luck.
improved.
It's not about luck. That's the thing. People who are the primacy of matter people, the Newtonian primacy peoples, they're all saying, "Oh, it's luck. It's all chance." It's not about luck, brother. It's about doing the work. It's about the great work. It's about natural law. And once you've aligned yourself to it, just miracles are happening constantly. And like I was only planning on 1 hour with you. Like my friend, when he came to the door, we had a plan, but this is more important than that plan. What I was going to go to with my friend, that would have been nice, but this is important. And that's one of the things. You need to be able to have delayed gratification. And that's so key. You need to be able to say, I'm going to do all these things, even though I'm not going to get the result right away. It's like working out. You're only really going to start getting the results in 6 months. How many people are going to go to the gym every day for 6 months knowing that they're not going to see the results until then?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. It's people's mindsets and like having that understanding of okay, right now I'm kind of falling for this instant gratification thing with my phone and all these other things. I have video games, I have all these distractions I can just immediately go to, instantly get gratified. I feel like
Instantly.
I'm actually accomplishing something when I'm really not in reality. And then and then it's slowly trying to shift your way out of that and say, okay, well now I'm just gonna go for a walk. Maybe I'm not even gonna listen to music while I'm on my walk. I'm just gonna like just walk around and hear nature and all this other stuff and kind of reset myself and reset my expectations, the way my mind's functioning, the amount of input that I'm getting at one particular time. And then slowly but surely, maybe in a week or two or 3 or 4 or a couple months, I'm gonna have a different perspective and my brain's gonna be functioning differently. My mind's gonna not be the same. And I'm gonna, I'll be able to understand certain concepts that people were talking about, like with you, like maybe for you, like you saying that, like, to me, it could be like super foreign, but then over time, I can totally understand where you're coming from, and I can feel like I am in a better spot. So that's very valuable as well. So I know we're gonna keep talking. So if we keep doing this, so I'm just gonna end it right here. Thank you so much. If you guys uh like what Daniel has been saying, go to his website, support him, find him on One Great Work Network, go to his actual website, go find him on TikTok, do whatever you gotta do. Even if you're just watching him, support him that way, that's fantastic. But if you guys want to do a donation, that's also excellent. So thank you guys so much for watching, and take care. Stay safe, everyone.